All right. Hello, Stardusters. Thanks for tuning in once again. Please be sure to like this video. You can't share it because it's for members only. Now, today I'm going to be discussing 9 specific behaviors that unsuccessful people tend to engage in. And for many of us, this is at work, but it's also in other areas of our lives. 9 behaviors unsuccessful people exhibit. And they usually do this on a regular basis. So please pay attention. With that all being said, everyone please get the likes up. I want to thank you all again for tuning in. And let's get right into it. So the first thing is procrastination. Okay, that's a problem for many of us. People put off for tomorrow or what they could do today. People do. They fall into a pattern of constantly just putting things on the back burner. And sometimes it's things that absolutely need to be addressed and done right away. Why put it off? This is a mantra for unsuccessful people. Procrastination can literally kill your dreams. It can stifle your growth. It can do all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, it's very important that we do what we're supposed to do when we need to do it. Now, procrastination is a common behavior exhibited by those who struggle to find success at work. It's a destructive habit of delaying or postponing tasks that need to be accomplished. Now, instead of tackling important tasks head on, these individuals who get caught up with procrastination tend to just simply push them aside, choosing to focus on less critical tasks or activities. Some people, they'll be all set to work, study, research, or do whatever they need to do. And then something that they like to watch on television comes on, or they just get sidetracked because their mind starts to wander and they start thinking of other things. Sometimes they get caught up with hanging out with friends, playing video games, doing all sorts of things other than what they actually need to do. And this is absolutely a recipe for disaster, but more specifically, a recipe for failure. Now, the worst part is procrastination creates a vicious cycle. The more you delay, the more daunting the task appears, which leads to further procrastination. Successful people, on the contrary, now they prioritize their task effectively and don't shy away from getting their hands dirty when needed. They understand the value of time and the importance of meeting deadlines. Okay, so keep in mind that overcoming procrastination doesn't mean that you just rush through tasks, but it's about effective time management and making sure that the work gets done in a timely manner. That's what's most important. That's what's most important. And another thing that many people get caught up in is negativity. And I talk about negativity all of the time. And why do I talk about negativity so much? It's because so many of us just get caught up in it. And sometimes we don't even realize it. Sometimes we're our own worst critics and our own worst enemies. Okay, we get caught up with being pessimistic and we are too hard on ourselves very often. And it's okay to be hard on yourself, to criticize yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to also look at the bright side and also give yourself credit for the things that you flourish at, the things that you're good at, rather than always just beating yourself down. So let's talk about the negativity. Negativity is a massive roadblock to success. Unsuccessful people often harbor a negative mindset that permeates their work, interactions, and overall approach to their job. They're quick to find faults, slow to acknowledge achievements, and are generally pessimistic about prospects and opportunities. Now, I remember a colleague of mine who was always just, down in the dumps and would always come to my office with like this dark cloud over his head, grumbling, complaining about every little thing. Oh, the traffic was horrible. Oh, the weather is so bad. Oh, I've got to go pick up the kids for my wife after I get off. Just always complaining, never really seemed to be in a good mood. In every meeting, there was an opportunity for him to complain about how unrealistic the targets were or how we were all set up for failure. I mean, it was absolutely draining. He was, in my opinion, a psyche vampire, okay? His negativity was just too much. And not just for him, but for everyone around him who had to hear the brunt of his constant complaints. Because as I've told you a myriad of times, Energy is contagious. So when you're surrounded by negative people or even one negative person, that negativity can absolutely spill over onto you. Now, the problem with such an attitude as this is that it stifles creativity and motivation. You see, it's hard to aspire and lead a team when you're always focused on the negative, on the downside of things. This is why successful people cultivate a positive mindset and encourage optimism in their teams. They have, a good knack for building morale, for boosting people's confidence. If you're a team leader, if you're the manager, you want to make people feel good. You want to give people motivation. But sadly, some people like my colleague, who was always just so negative and always had doubts and so many concerns that, concerned about things that might not ever even have happened. And many times they didn't, but he had the wrong mindset. So these people just, they don't seem to understand that pessimistic mindsets will stop you from trying to, or stop you from achieving your goals that you have set before you. It will even stop you from setting goals because you're too caught up and bogged down thinking about what's going to go wrong, even though these things may absolutely not even go the way they're thinking. But positive people, successful people, they understand that challenges are just stepping stones towards achieving their goals. And another thing that keeps people stifled is resistance to change. You see, some people absolutely do not want to change. They become complacent. They get caught up in doing the same old, and it's very difficult for them to get out of that habit. And so resistance to change is something that is never good. One of the biggest roadblocks to success is the inability to embrace change. You see, unsuccessful people often exhibit a strong preference for maintaining the status quo, even when it's clear that the current way of doing things is no longer effective or beneficial. Now, in today's rapidly evolving work environment, adaptability is key. Companies are constantly looking for ways to innovate and improve, and employees are expected to keep up with these changes. Now, and as I said, these things don't always have to apply just to work. You can, find yourself procrastinating in your everyday life, or just being negative about a myriad of things, or not feeling motivated or inspired. But nevertheless, no matter what area of life that you're engaging in these behaviors in, it's always going to be negative. It is never going to be to your benefit, but rather to your detriment. Now, successful people, on the other hand, you see, they thrive on change. They see it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and to improve. And remember what I always tell you, there's always room for improvement. You see, successful people understand that in order to stay ahead, they need to be willing to adapt and to evolve. Sadly, some people just don't get that. They just don't get it. And, that's why they find themselves stuck in a rut or stagnant. They find themselves at dead-end jobs or in dead-end relationships that are clearly going nowhere at the end of the day. Now, another one is lack of initiative. Unsuccessful people often exhibit a lack of initiative. They're content with just doing what's asked of them and rarely go beyond their job description or assigned task. And sometimes these people are the funniest because you can tell them something, ask them to do something, and they'll say, that's not in my job description. Well, it may not be in your job description, but if you want to get a better job, if you want to get a promotion, if you want to make more money, sometimes it would behoove you to do little things that are not necessarily in your job description. Sometimes it would be good for you to take initiative and do things without being asked. Do things that may not be expected of you. A nice surprise for your boss. These things are looked favorably upon by those in charge. And so taking initiative means taking charge, being proactive, and going the extra mile. It's about identifying opportunities to contribute and add value, even when it's not explicitly required or requested. However, unsuccessful individuals tend to want for or to wait for instructions or directions before they act. You see, they need things delegated to them at all times. And if it isn't, then they're not going to take the initiative. They're not even going to think about it. They're reactive rather than proactive. And this passive approach can be detrimental to their career growth. But on the flip side, successful people understand that taking initiative is a key ingredient to success. You see, they're always on the lookout for ways to improve processes, solve problems, and contribute to the company's growth. This proactive approach not only accelerates their personal growth, but also positively impacts the organization's success. And I'm quite sure that when you're doing something that's going to benefit the company, your boss will likely be grateful and have gratitude. And, this could help you be looked at more favorably. And so then if you have to take a day off or, you come in a few minutes late or something like that, well, maybe you won't get into so much trouble. I'm just saying, that old phrase, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You have to give a little to get a little. Now, another thing is poor communication. You see, some people don't really know how to communicate properly or thoroughly. As sometimes people are hard, it's hard for some people to get their thoughts out or to explain things the way they need to be explained. So ineffective communication is another behavior that unsuccessful people frequently display at work. They often struggle to articulate their thoughts clearly, which can lead to misunderstandings and confusion. Communication is a two-way street. It's not just about speaking, but also about listening. Unfortunately, people who struggle at work often fail to listen effectively, missing out on crucial information and feedback. Poor communication can lead to a variety of issues, including decreased productivity, low morale, and even conflict within the team. It can also negatively impact relationships with clients and customers. Now, successful people, on the other hand, value and practice effective communication. They understand that good communication is key to collaboration, problem solving as well, and maintaining healthy relationships in the workplace. They make it a point to express their ideas clearly and also to listen attentively to others. You see, some people like to talk, but they don't listen. And in fact, when someone's talking, they talk over them because they don't really want to hear what you have to say because, hey, everything's all about them. Please pay attention. Another thing is some people have absolutely no empathy. In fact, they lack empathy, which is not a good trait. Now, one of the most underrated yet crucial traits in the workplace is empathy. Unfortunately, unsuccessful people often lack this vital quality. They find it hard to understand or to share the feelings of others, creating a barrier in relationships with colleagues and clients. Now, without empathy, it's tough to create a harmonious work environment. People tend to feel undervalued and unappreciated, leading to a decrease in motivation and productivity. Now, this, in my opinion, usually comes from management. This more so impacts employees with bosses, managers, team leads, supervisors, and the like, who don't have empathy. Like, for example, if someone is sick in the family, maybe your child is sick, or maybe you're not feeling well and you don't want to come to work, you need a day off or whatever. And some of these people have absolutely no empathy. They don't care. All they care about is what you need to be doing at work. And they don't want to give you a break, no matter how dire the situation is. And that's really not good because that does make people feel undervalued, unappreciated, and it makes people just not even want to try it. In some cases, it destroys their morale. And, I've actually seen this firsthand. So I always would try to be the boss that is, accommodating to people. And I'll give you an example. There was a young lady who was working for me once when I was doing corporate security. And this young lady, she basically was complaining about her check. She hadn't gotten her check or something like that. It was supposed to be mailed to her because she didn't have a bank card. Anyway, long story short, she said that she didn't get her check. So, and her rent was about to be due in like a couple of days. She also didn't even have money to get home from work. So I called the corporate office. I took the initiative and called the corporate office and I told them what was going on. And they said, well, we'll print her out another check in a week or so. I said, no, that's not going to work. She needs a check right now, today. I said, I'm going to bring her up to the corporate office and I need you all to write her a check today. She needs her money now. This was your mistake. You sent the check to the wrong address or whatever. And so she needs her money today. And so I went and got that resolved for her. Those are little things that, you know, your bosses can do. They can try to help you out and give you a little leeway when you're having a problem. But some of these bosses don't care. All they want is for you to be doing the work that they have for you to do. And they don't care about anything outside of that because the company is the main priority. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but they need to remember, some of them have to remember because they seem to forget that everyone is human. And sometimes we have problems and things that come up out of the blue. So with that all being said, in contrast, successful people understand the importance of empathy. They know that by putting themselves in others' shoes, they can build stronger relationships and create a positive work environment. And they value the thoughts and feelings of others, fostering an atmosphere of mutual respect and cooperation. And this is all very true. Because I don't think that some of these people even care whether or not their employees like them. But I always want employees, to like me. I want them to feel that I care about them. And I want them, because when they feel like you care about them, even just a little bit, they're more inclined to do what you ask them to do and to give you less problems. That helps your day to go by smoothly and theirs as well. But some of these employers, they don't really care if you like them or not. Okay, as long as you do what they want you to do. And if you don't, well, they'll just get rid of you. No questions asked. Please pay attention. Now, the next one is responsibility. Some people absolutely want no responsibility. They don't want to take it. This is another behavior that unsuccessful people exhibit, and it's just simply by avoiding responsibility, no accountability. And see, when things go wrong, they're quick to start pointing the finger and placing the blame elsewhere on anybody other than them, instead of literally owning up to their own mistakes, because mistakes happen. All you have to do is admit it. And let me give you an example. There was a guy that I knew. I actually did his resume for him, and he got this good job, was making pretty good money. And this, oh my goodness, I don't want to call him a fool, but that's clearly what he acted like. Now he gets to the job and he's carrying something down the stairs one day. And he had a bad knee. I think he had water on the knee or something like that. He told me about it before, and I was referring him to a doctor. But long story short, he's walking down the steps, trips, and falls. Now, mind you, as he trips and falls, he's carrying this huge box. I don't know what he had in it, but it was a big box he's carrying. And so when he fell, or as he started to trip, the box went to the side and hit a window, went through the window and broke it. Now, when he gathered himself and got up, he picked up the box and went on out the door like nothing happened. So the next day, or later on that day, when they realized the window was broken, everyone's trying to figure out how did the window get broken. Now, why couldn't he have just gone to whoever was in charge and said, listen, I fell down the steps. They probably wouldn't even have been mad because, first of all, he could have sued them for workman's comp or anything because he fell and injured himself at the job. But no. He simply left and didn't say a thing about it. So when he gets to work the next day and they're still trying to figure out who broke the window and how, well, they go on to review the camera footage and they see that it was him. And so he was consequently fired. And that was just so stupid and something that clearly could have been avoided. But no, he chose not to take responsibility. That's what he didn't do. On the other hand, successful people, they understand that mistakes are an inevitable part of life. We all make mistakes. But instead of running from them, they take responsibility, learn from it, and use this as a stepping stone to improve and to grow. They realize that taking responsibility is not just about admitting mistakes, but also about taking constructive steps to rectify them. That's all he had to do. I mean, something so simple, but he'd rather just leave, walk out of the building and go home. Did he think they were not going to find out that he was the fool that broke the window? I had several questions, but I digress. Motivation. Some people absolutely lack motivation. This is the eighth thing. Another trait that unsuccessful people tend to fall into. Okay? A lack of motivation and drive is one of the things that really stifles your growth. You really need motivation in order to succeed. Now, these people who lack motivation, they often view their jobs as a chore rather than an opportunity to grow and excel. Now, the lack of motivation can lead to low productivity, poor performance, and dissatisfaction at work. You see, motivation is not just about getting things done. It's about having the passion and enthusiasm for what you do. It's what keeps you going even when things get tough. Now, unsuccessful people often lack this crucial element. They're merely going through the motions. That's all they do. They're just, like a computer, like a robot. Okay, that's been programmed just to do specific tasks day in and day out. They just don't have any desire to do anything different. They're not passionate about what they're doing, and they're always full of complaints. All of these things, these negative things that people do, these unsuccessful people, pay attention, because all of these things fall in line. They all go together like a hand and a glove. So they just go through the motions without truly investing in their work or seeking ways to improve. On the other hand, however, successful people are driven by a strong sense of purpose and passion for their work. They're motivated to achieve their goals and continuously strive to better themselves. This motivation fuels their productivity and leads them towards success. And sadly, those who lack motivation cannot say the same. It's just the truth of the matter. They just can't say the same. And it's absolutely sad, because if you're not motivated, maybe listening to someone else who is successful, or someone who aspires to do great things, or someone who is always positive and upbeat, maybe listening to them can help you to be motivated. But some people who lack motivation, they don't even want to hear what anyone else has to say. They don't really care, is all I'm saying. Now, ignoring feedback. Well, this is another thing that unsuccessful people do. And people that ignore feedback, those are the people that don't like anyone telling them anything about themselves. These are the people who cannot take constructive criticism. They can't take criticism, period, even when it's constructive. They just, quite frankly, don't like anyone telling them anything. And in many cases, they actually think that they already know it all for themselves. And so why do I need to listen to you? I've got this all down pat. This is how some of them think. Now, this final behavior that unsuccessful people exhibit is ignoring feedback, and they tend to take criticism personally and view it as an attack rather than an opportunity to improve. Now, this can hinder their growth, as they miss out on valuable insights that could help them perform better. This one reminds me of Willie D. When people gave him feedback about that interview he did with Cat Williams, and he got so mad and cursed out everybody and their mama and their grandmamas and all of that. It was all nefarious. But he could have, like I told you all when I spoke about it on the other channel, I said he could have taken that into consideration and then used the criticisms that people gave him so that he would do a better job next time. He could have just taken it into account. But no, he chose to go on a whole rant and get upset because he didn't want anyone telling him how he should have done anything. But it's okay for him to critique others. Please pay attention. And that's usually how people are when they don't want to listen to feedback. They can give it to you, but don't you dare give it to them. Now, it allows us to identify our strengths and areas for improvement. Ignoring or simply dismissing feedback can lead to stagnation and prevent us from reaching our full potential. And what we should be trying to do every day is maximize our potential so that we, excel in the things that we do, that we're not just regular, ordinary, just like everybody else. Don't you want to be different? Dare to be different. Don't you want to be extraordinary, right? Extraordinary, extraordinary. Don't you want to be that? Or you just want to be like everybody else? Sometimes it pays to listen to feedback, whether you like it or not, because it can actually help you in the long run. Now, successful people, in contrast, well, they embrace feedback. They understand that it's not a personal attack, but a tool for growth. They actively seek out feedback and use it constructively to improve their skills, their performance, and their relationships at work. They know that feedback is a stepping stone to success, not a stumbling block. And these things are all choices. These are all choices. You can decide to use these things, to better yourself, or to just simply ignore them. But a lot of people have learned, that when people are telling you things about yourself, sometimes it's our haters. As I told you before, sometimes our haters say negative things about us just to get under our skin, to tick us off or whatever, or just because simply they're haters. They can't help themselves. But sometimes people are telling us things that we need to fix because they're trying to do us a service. They're trying to help us be better people or help us to be better at what we're doing. And so what it's going to cost you just to listen and take the advice. If it sounds plausible, if it sounds like a good idea, like something that could actually improve your situation, well, why not just try it? Well, some people won't because they're too stubborn. Some people won't because of their egos. And some people won't just because they think that maybe the person telling them doesn't know what they're talking about. Some people will take advice from certain people, but not from others. Some people think that you have to have a college degree and be so skilled and all of these things to give them sound advice. There are some people who may only have a high school degree that can give you sound advice. There are even children who can give adults sound advice. At the end of the day, you should always be open and willing to listen when someone is critiquing you. And then ask yourself, is this going to benefit me in some way? And if it is, then maybe you should think twice. With that all being said, I hope you all got something out of this. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Until next time, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives.